good evening, good evening, or good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And welcome, welcome, welcome to Honest Inner Truths. This is the interview, excuse me, where I get to ask any questions whatsoever to the amazing speakers that we have had on Hit Talks Live. So give us a wave if you're actually watching this. If you're watching this live, give us a wave, leave us some messages. If you're actually watching the replay, please hashtag replay. I would like to introduce you to Honest Inner Truths, which is part of Hit Talks Live. And my name is Vicky Thomas, and I am your founder and your host. And people say to me, what is this Hit Talks Live? What is this Honest Inner Truths? Well, you'll need to join us to find out at the next Hit Talks Live, which is on Friday, the 3rd of July. But what these interviews are about, these interviews are really getting to the core of amazing people from all over the world, where we can actually help the viewers live the life of freedom, live the life of hope, live the life of inspiration, live the life of transformation. And with us sharing our honest inner truth, if that is the way for us to be able to support you, then we are doing what we're meant to be doing. So hi Pearl, how are you? So lovely to have you here. So leave us some messages if you've got any messages. The comments come through here into this chat. And the speaker that we've actually got on Honest Inner Truth today is somebody who is very close to my heart, who's very, very supportive to me and very supportive to Hit Talks. And he is also the executive director, founder, and let's say brains behind cracking the learning code, which we're going to talk about because it is something that we all need to know. It is something that I look at it and I think the way the world is changing, the way the whole new era of the new world is, this is something that is very, very exciting. It's even exciting because it uses big words like neuroscience. So without further ado, I'm going to invite JW Wilson into this chat room so we can start asking each other some questions. If you have any questions, please put them in the group chat. But this is a conversation. This is a conversation of us having some honest inner truths and a conversation of hope, inspiration, and transformation. So let me welcome JW into the room. JW, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Vicky. I'm enjoying it. Thanks.
Good, good, good. So I want you to just tell us a little bit about cracking the learning code, if you're happy to do that.
Sure. Well, I run a thing called the Learning Code Institute. I'm the executive director. And really, for the last 30 years, really a long time ago, I used to develop businesses. And I was always interested in learning and education. And what I found is I was developing these businesses. I was thinking about marketing and branding. And I had a publishing business in the Pacific, and we represented everything from the Washington Post to the Paris Match. For some, we did just the advertising, some we did editorial and the advertising. And what I ended up finding was we would try something, it would work, we'd try something else and it wouldn't work. Really, everybody in marketing and branding were doing that. And I started thinking, how can we accelerate the way people change or the way people buy things, quite frankly, is what I was thinking. But as I started getting into the research, this was in the 80s, what I found was that really getting to buy something was learning to buy something. So really you were learning how to buy something you wanted. So I became more and more interested in how to accelerate the speed of learning. And I read a guy named Peter Drucker. We'd been in a basically industrial society, and he said, no, we're in a knowledge society. And these two things kind of came together in my mind. And I said, if we're in a knowledge society, the number one thing you have is your ability to learn. So now information is doubling every 18 months. So our number one asset that we can have in a world where everything is knowledge is doubling every 18 months is accelerating our ability to learn. So back in the 80s, we started to do that, and we started to research the 6,000 genes that control neurological function. And we untangled that. It took us a little longer we thought. We thought it would take about 3 months. It took 30 years. And we basically found the 6,000 genes that control neurological function, what needs to happen to turn those genes on. So literally, as you're talking about on Hip Talks, is you can have the life of your dreams because we work awful hard, we study, we memorize, we read books, forget a lot of stuff. So what we've looked at is a more scientific approach to how to transform the way the world learns. So we have the Learning Code Institute, which is on the web. And then we have a book coming out called Cracking the Learning Code, how to use neuroscience to transform how the world learns, motivates, and changes behaviors. So that's what we're doing.
Absolutely fantastic. And if I ask you a personal question, what made you go into this understanding the brain and understanding learning? You know, just for our viewers, because you know, for a path of falling into this, you know, into this environment for you.
Right. So just so you know, it sounds like something's breaking up on your end. You've got some static, I think. I'm not sure what's causing that. But to answer your question, what is learning? You know, the idea to pass a test and you've learned, or you memorize 20 things and you've learned. We throw this word around learning very loosely, especially in education. But think of all the things you memorized in school. Everybody watching this video, you could have memorized by the time you got out of school, but depending on what school system you're in, what country you're in, you could have memorized anything from 20 to 150,000 things just to get out of high school. And so the question is, and then you go on to college and do the same thing again. The question is, how many of those tens of thousands of things do you remember today? The truth is, not very many. You know, the researchers, a guy named Ebbinghaus, that did a thing called the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. He really did it in the 1800s. Pretty fascinating stuff. But what he found was that when you memorized information, most of it was gone within a few short days. Why? Because what is learning? Memorization is called your working memory. It's here in front of your temples. And when I memorize something, it's an electrical chemical process. It's kind of a vibratory freeze on the information until I don't need it anymore. You've probably done it with telephone numbers. They used to be 7 digits because a guy at Harvard did some research in the 50s and 1950s and said, oh, they have to be 7 digits long. That's all our working memory can handle. So all telephone numbers were that until we got area codes, and they got longer. So what we found was that real learning wasn't in working memory. Working memory was where you're processing it. Long-term memory is back here in the rear associative part of your brain. And when learning happens back here, what happens is it moves from an electrical chemical process, which is in your frontal area where you're passing the test in front of your temples, to the rear associative area where structure change. So if you're not structural change in your brain, changes of your neurons and these things called synapses, which are the little buds that sit on the branches outside of the neurons. So really learning is a very physiological thing that our existing learning systems really don't understand nor how to create.
Yeah, and it's as I say, we say it anyway, don't we? With this, that it's 95% of our brain is our subconscious, and we only use 5% of our brain that when we're actually on everyday living, and 95% of it is the subconscious, which, as you say, it's actually the programming.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what happens is I use it all the time. So I always bring my cheese with me. So what you learned in your life is just like cheddar. Well, this is Swiss cheese. It's got a hole in it. But
is that actually real cheese?
It is real cheese. I just went to my icebox to make sure I had the real stuff. When I travel and do this and I wrap it up, somebody says, why don't you get some plastic cheese? I don't know. I just
It's not the same.
Anyway, literally what learning is, what your history is, what your parents taught you, what you learned how to have a relationships with the opposite sex. It's literally structural stuff. It's like
Yeah.
sticky, gooey cheese in your brain. That are driving them to eat food haven't been changed. And without changing that cheese, there's no change of behaviors. So we develop these strategies and protocols, we call them, where we're able to literally change people's brain structures so their lives change for them. It's a very scientific approach, but once you understand it, it's really simple to understand. And it's like your life too, Vic. You spiritual and kind of the formless and bringing people together, right?
Sorry, you broke up, JW. Then say that again. Sorry.
Did you hear?
No, you
Yeah,
broke
I
up.
think it's your headsets. The headsets. You're breaking up. Oh,
No,
okay.
I can hear you.
So, am I okay now?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're breaking up on your end. So, I don't know. Can you hear me now? Okay.
yeah, perfect.
I have good reception here. Can you hear me?
I can hear.
Okay.
It's breaking up a little bit. Let me just.
Yeah. So I'll say it again. So what I said, Vicky, was yes, something's going on because I've got bars here. I don't know if there's something on your end that the reception is, but and I'm wondering if it might be the headsets that are causing it. But on your end. But anyway, what I said was you are interested in helping people transform. You're interested in the transformative. You're interested in the spiritual. Literally, you run around through the world, and what your existing cheese does, what this existing cheese does, it attracts other cheese like it. You go through the world finding things that matches what's already in your brain. This is why Republicans hang out with Republicans, Democrats hang out with Democrats. It's basically what we're looking for, and it doesn't always help us, but we're looking for something that matches our cheese. And so for you, your cheese is about transformation, about helping people, about putting people together. You're running around the world doing that, pulling people together. So your cheese is directing all your thoughts, all your actions, and all your behaviors. And it's like that for everybody watching this video right now. The difference is, unfortunately, for almost 90 to 95% of us, we don't really know what's meaningful to us at a deep level. So we're not able to go out into the world and get more of what's meaningful to us. Nobody's ever sat us down, and even we ourselves haven't sat down and said, what's really meaningful to me in my life? Like, transformation is. And the joy you get when you help people transform and when you bring people together. Like, I've been on your show before, and you had, you know, like one of the heads of Harvard Medical School, you've had producers, you've had people that are on Dragon's Den and Shark Tank, because you're getting joy from bringing those people together and they feel it. So when we're able to understand what's meaningful to us at a deep level, now here's the problem. Most people say money, house, car, girlfriend, but you've got to go to the next level. You got to peel the onion. What is meaningful to us? Well, money's meaningful? Why? Well, it could be for safety. For somebody else, it could be power. And so you need to figure out, what am I going? Am I going for money, or am I going for safety or power? You want to kind of peel the onion about what's most meaningful to you to get down to what it is you really want in your life so you can get more of it.
Exactly. And it's quite funny as you say that. I was writing a blog and it came through, and I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but there's a song called Del Shannon, Runaway. And it was written back in the I don't know, 60s or maybe even the 50s. Now I know every single word to that song, and I wasn't born until the mid 70s. And it's one of these things that, as you say, it's kind of, when you're grown up, the sound, and that's obviously being played, the songs, the vocabulary, everything that's going on with your upbringing, it's actually in your brain. So when the song comes on, I know all the words, and I'm like thinking, how do I know all the words to these songs? Because it was, I've never played it, since being an adult. And and that's the thing, because it's within, as you talk about the brain, but it's in the quantum field. So this is the thing. It's you, like, you come up and you think, oh my gosh, where did that information come from? Because you can't recall it. It's not from this 5%, it's from the 95%.
Right. So Vicky, I'm still getting you're breaking up than I'm hearing. I can still hear you, but I've got static in there. So I'm not sure from your headset or what it's from, but there's some static there.
Yeah,
But
just
let me
give us a
kind of go to what
give
you
us
said.
in comments,
So
Veronica. Just give me
you've
a message
already
and see if
figured
it's,
out. You know, I have a hard time hearing you now. Could you say that again?
I was just saying for Veronica to leave us a message in the chat if she can hear us both okay, because it's breaking up both sides. So I don't know what. Anyway, everything happens for a reason. So maybe this is the 95% of the brain coming through.
We too much energy, woman.
Yeah, the
We're
same.
frying the circuits. Should I call
Exactly. I
back and
think
call back in, or what should we do here?
no, we're on live broadcast to Facebook at the moment. So the universe is going to support us. It's just all this energy, JW. It's all the energy in the quantum
Okay,
field that's actually shifting around. So going back to
great.
what you were
So,
saying earlier.
so what I was saying was that so what we don't do is nobody sits down with us, even our children that have kids. How many times have you asked a kid what's meaningful to him? He might say soccer, or he might say a big house, but the question you want to ask is why? What are you getting from soccer? What are you getting from building Legos? You know,
Well, just currently, I think we're just having a few technical issues here, everyone. So just quickly stay on the line. We're just going to bring JW back on. Some people are saying that Vic is clearer than JW. JW is now clearer. We think it's JW's connection. Let's bring him back onto the line because this is a really interesting conversation here. And as you say, everything happens for a reason. So bear with us. So you just need to unmute yourself there. There you go. Can you hear us now? He's frozen. So JW is frozen. So at the moment, what's happening is he's using the back part of his brain to actually bring together all of this amazing knowledge that we're going to be sharing with everybody. And this is the thing that we've spoke about before, is that it's the it's the quantum field. And how many times have we said that we feel that we're clearing something, we feel that something's getting better, something's happening, and but then what happens is that we feel it all again. And the reason that we feel it all again is because it's the onion, as we were talking about. It's peeling back the layers of the onion. And this is what I love about working in the quantum field. And this is why I love working with quantum balance, quantum healing, quantum balance, quantum expansion, because when we are working in the field and we are working with, with the 95% of our brain and not the 5% of our brain, that is when magic can happen. And JW is back here in the room. So are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me
Yeah.
okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah. So it dropped out a couple of times. So as we were just talking, obviously, I love talking about the hippocampo and the reptilian brain and pineal gland, and all these parts of making sure that we're
Frontal lobe,
clearing, we're,
neocortex.
yeah, and we're clearing and we're detoxifying. And I do a lot of work in this field, and this is why I love the conversations that we have, is because we are evolving as human beings now. We're evolving now and understanding that this is the brain, this is the part of the 95% that we really need to start accessing now for us to be able to shift up into the new era of the new world and the new evolution. Gone are the days where we're happy in just living in 5% of our brain, right, JW? We want 100% of our brain actually activating now.
Yeah, well, there was a guy named McLean who, in the 1950s, kind of talking about what you're talking about, what he found was, this is pretty interesting. Now, if you're born again Christian or very religious, you might, the concept is man has only been here for a few thousand years. And I don't want to, confront anybody's religious, beliefs. But in biology, we basically look back to the history of when life first appeared on Earth. And as the fish climbed out of the primordial ooze, and this is what McLean discovered. And then he discovered and came really around 65 million years ago, before all of a sudden we started to get more mammals that had this middle brain, where our emotional centers, reptiles aren't that emotional. They just eat you or not, right? And as we started to get more emotional, then we started living in groups, mice, you have families. You have animals that live in groups. We're one of the animals that live in groups. This is the middle part of our brain, wants us to be part of the herd. And then humans, a monkey's got a brain where they can hold, we've got a 6x, our brain, that can hold a lot more information. But now, in humans, we have 6-layer neocortex. But then what happened was, with Cro-Magnon man, we got a frontal lobe. Depending on the anthropologist, 150 to 75,000 years ago, we got this frontal lobe. And now we could look outside of ourselves, outside of our tribe, outside of our herd, to take our information and make the whole world better. So really, what he said, it's like going to the psychiatrist and have an alligator lay down next to a genius, because our brain is kind of fighting between these two parts all the time. We see it in America right now with Black Lives Matter. The lower part of our brain wants to keep us separate and see differences. The other part of our prefrontal cortex, the more physiologically, literally the blood flow shifts downward to the least evolved part of your brain. So if you're under stress at work, at school, in your government, in your country, if you live in the Mideast, it's harder to shift up to the most evolved part of your brains, where we can see we're all together. So what we end up doing, we end up having the flow go to these lower part of our brains, where we only focus on our differences. And we can't change our world from focusing on why we're so different. Because the truth is, we're much more alike than we are different as a species. And so really what I call that's a downshift. When you're stressed, drives your blood downward. A guy named Leslie Hart came up with this, but really when you upshift, you go into these more spiritual places, what you're talking about, Vicki, and I think why we get along so well, though you're not into the neuroscience realm, you're into the realm of shift blood flow to the most evolved part of your brain, where we can see we're connected. And once we can see we're not separate, we're all in a way one, then it's easier to create systems, policies, and procedures that can make our world become more one. And instead of fighting with one another, what we can start to do is transform the world so that all of us benefit.
Perfect. And this is why I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting, because the reason that we connect, and we can talk about the story about the galactic unicorn later if we want, but there's everything happens for a reason, and you connect people, you connect with people for a reason, I truly believe. And that's to do with feelings. And as you're saying about the connections, that's why I love, from the bottom of my heart, Hit Talks so much, because as we talk about this a lot. It's about feeling, it's about the connection. It's not about um the part of our brain actually keeps us safe, the survival mode, the reptilian brain. It's actually all about, say, it's all about love, it's all about feeling, it's all about connection. It's all literally bringing everyone together and realizing that, or understanding that we are one and there isn't any separation. And if we can share our honest inner truths, if we can share our experiences, if we can actually be together as one, then we are able to start stepping forward a little bit in changing the world, or being part of the change of the world, of the new era. Does that make sense? I think we may have lost you again. Hello. See, everything happens for a reason here, viewers. It is it's the technology. It is the technology that doesn't seem to be working here. So, but it's an amazing conversation that I know that we can continue on. And JW has been on to the Hit Talks, the Hope, Inspiration and Transformational Talks of 8 minutes, and you can go back and watch his 8 minute speech. And I think that what we will do is, because this is such a fascinating conversation and a well needed conversation, because we are in this world to bring together the understanding of togetherness, the understanding of oneness, the understanding of no separation. Oh, I think he might be here on a different device. Let's see. And understand that the non-separation, really, because the more that we can actually start working together, the more that we can actually start inspiring together, the more that we can actually start bringing hope together, and doing things from that place of oneness, then, as I say, we can have, as you said, Jada, some people want wealth in like a monetary term. We can have what we desire, but if we do it from the right place, and we're not doing it through greed, we're not doing it through the lower vibration, the vibration of us keeping ourselves safe from our reptilian brain and survival brain.
Yeah, and kind of what we're experiencing is, when you're in more meditative states, when you're the observer, when you're in awareness, we know it increases the transmitter called.
Yeah, I think the signal really is breaking up here, JW. It's
and holding does is it does a bunch of very interesting things. Already loud.
Yeah, it's really breaking up. Pearl says that there's so much information to digest, that that everyone is learning from this conversation, that the universe is at work, and it's giving the viewers time to understand everything that's going on.
And higher levels of creativity differences.
Right, guys, I think because we've had this internet connection issue here, then I would like to request that we can reconvene this interview at another time with JW. So I'm really sorry to all the viewers that are messaging me privately as well, in regards to this connection issue. But as I say, the universe is at work, and everything happens for a reason. So we've used this platform many times, but it's fascinating when we all work together about moving forward to bring people together, to bring hope, inspiration, and transformation together. And when we start understanding a little bit more about our brain, when we start understanding a little bit more about our body, you know, and the way that we are as beings, and the connection that we can have to our higher self, the connection that we can, you know, we can have, as JW said, you know, connecting from the ground, connecting all the way up, and you know, the full connection is it's we say it's, well, I like to say that it's awareness. The more that we're aware, the more that we can grow, and the more that we're able to peel back the onions. So I'd like to thank every single person that's been on here live. I would, you know, if you're watching this back, please hashtag the replay, and we'll send some details out about trying to reconvene this amazing conversation. And if you're able to, please join us at Hit Talks Live. So the next episode is on Friday, the 3rd of July, which is at 6 p.m. UK time. So please check your time zones. So that is 6 p.m. UK time on Friday. And the concept of this next Hit Talks Live is all about growth. It's all about planting the seeds, and what our speakers have done to plant the seeds for them to actually get to where they are in life, how they've, you know, what their journey has been like. And 8 speakers for 8 minutes for 8 transformational messages on hope, on inspiration, or how they've transformed, or how they can support you or support everybody that's watching to transform their life as well. So please join us. It is free. Register at www.hittalks.com, and you can see the previous episodes of the Hit Talks, and you can also see the previous episodes of Honest Inner Truth Talks there as well. And Honest Inner Truths are back on Thursday, where I have the most amazing guest in the whole of the world, and that is my dearest friend, Miss Veronica Sosa. I say Miss, but I mean Mrs. And as it is Honest Inner Truth, so I can ask any questions whatsoever. So you have to tune in live, because I've already decided what questions I'm going to ask her. No, I'm joking. So that is Thursday at 8 p.m. UK time. So please join us for the next episode of Honest Inner Truths. And thank you so much for everyone watching. And please hashtag the replay. And thank you so much, Pearl, for today's interview. And JW will be back with us again. So sending you so much love.